All right, guys, welcome to another edition of our podcast. My name is Holly and my co-host Gavin. Today we have a special guest where we're going to be interviewing Tristan and asking him about his experience with real estate. So, Gavin, take it away.
All right, all right. First, how are you today, sir?
I'm well. Can't complain. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm okay. So we're gonna have a series of interviews. Your very first interviewee. So thank you. We appreciate breaking the ice with you. Um, I'm thinking we're gonna call this like segment first deal first.
Oh, we lost you. Oh, damn, Gavin.
First deal first.
First deal, and then it went, all right, start it
First
over.
deal.
First deal. I'll cut that spot out.
So can you elaborate on what inspired your real estate journey?
Um, I would say it was heavily rooted in family and tradition. My grandfather, built, owned, had his own home. My father did the same. My brother purchased. So I was, I guess, like the next in line. And, renting just wasn't really a thing. We also grew up in a house and my parents, had a mortgage on, owned, and all of that. So that was just kind of like, all right, this is what's expected of you. I mean, aside from all the other, I guess, things that you kind of hear and learn about real estate, but that was one of my primary motivating factors.
Awesome. So family legacy. Okay. So growing up, did your parents like, I don't know, make show you the bills, teach you about real estate, like how like
So it wasn't like a direct teaching about real estate. It was very indirect because my parents I grew up in a two family home, so they always had tenants. And then they also eventually bought another house on the block, which was their investment property, and they had tenants. And then they have another house in Jamaica where they have tenants. So tenants have I've been used to and aware of tenants, and things are broken, we have to fix this, we got to go to Home Depot, we got to go to PC Richards, this person, rent is late, this person has Section 8, this person doesn't. So I've been around that all my life.
mm,
That's how I learned, but it wasn't like, oh, here, let me teach you about this. It was just things happening around me, but I learned that way essentially.
so you were just observing on the go.
Right.
Okay.
Or when I want to play video games and my
Speak a bit.
father's like, turn off the video game, come with me to Home Depot, or come hold this light, or come help me paint this wall. All these things I'm annoyed as a kid, but obviously now as a man in my own house, I'm very thankful for it.
That's
When you say
good.
the block, where were you referring to?
So I'm in the Bronx. Fun fact, actually, where I bought my house is literally the same block I've lived on all my life. So I've never
No
lived.
way.
So yeah, I'm in the Bronx. My parents literally live across the street from me, a couple houses
Oh,
down.
that's so
Their investment
awesome.
property is a couple houses up. My aunt lives on the corner of the block. My grandmother lives next to my parents. So it's yeah, this block is literally in my
Oh,
front.
that's so fun.
Yeah,
As you were speaking, I just thought of side note. Growing up, like my family all live on Warrington Street in Providence. If y'all know it, y'all know. But literally it was like that type
yeah.
of scenario. So it's like growing up with so much fun. Sunday dinners are amazing. Oh, I miss that. So yeah,
It
you
goes
just
back to the concept of
yeah.
community and it taking a village to raise a child, not necessarily always relatives, but if you're living on the same block, naturally you're going to look out for one another, right? And we kind of lose the sense of community as families grow and expand, but then we welcome others into our community as well, which is very important. You mentioned we do have some questions regarding generational wealth and experiences that led to this journey, but I'd like for you to elaborate a bit more on it. Now, I know you want to share with like where your family's from, which island, and I want to ask, do you think that has any influence on how they were able to shake and move with real estate? Because during their time, there was redlining, which was a lot more prevalent, and they had a lot more challenges than what we're dealing with today. So, although you were playing video games and not really thinking of it, can you think back to any of the discussions or any moments in your childhood where you might have heard a discussion take place, and you're like, man, that kind of like turned a light bulb on for you. Because if all of your family lives on one block, pretty much, not all of your family, but if you have a number of people living within the same community, that wasn't happenstance. That didn't happen by accident, right?
Right,
So
right.
do you think there were ever discussions amongst the family with regards to staying close knit, purchasing a property, not just leaving the island and renting, but purchasing a home for the family to grow in?
Yeah, so I think also just coming think about where they were coming from in Jamaica. They had homes and still have homes out there. So I guess it was kind of a sense of like why go from owning to renting, you know what I mean? And it was like, okay, whoever came to say America first, kind of a sense of like establishing, and it's actually funny you asked that question because part of my parents' investment property, the one of the other motivators about that was that my father's brothers and sisters, or mainly sisters, and my niece, my cousins, they were all coming up. So my father was thinking like, okay, where are they gonna stay when they come here? So it was, yeah, it's like an investment property, but it's also him again, just kind of looking out for family and making sure that everyone is okay, everyone is good, and we're all within close reach. And then even thinking in Jamaica, where my father lives now, family also lives pretty close. I think that's just always kind of been a thing. So to your point, it wasn't necessarily something that was just happenstance. I think it's something that was routine and something that they were used to. So they kind of just kept that as a thing.
We have a very similar setup in Providence, and I just find that it's very convenient to have my mother-in-law live just 3 blocks away
It is
because you
extremely
never know
convenient.
things happen, and I'm sure you understand that. Holly, did you want to follow up or anything before I move on to the next?
Now we can move on to the next.
Okay. Before we go move on. Oh,
Yeah.
really? I was wondering why you guys froze. I guess it was me. I asked, how comfortable are you with sharing your financial approach for closing on your first investment?
I'm comfortable. I think especially with younger people looking to, because I purchased this home and I was like 29. I had literally just turned 30. And the funny thing about that is my initial closing date was August something. My birthday is September 12th. So I was saying to myself, I said, yes, how crib before 30, crib before 30. But
Eh.
Bella's attorney, who's another conversation, she, was trying to make things difficult. She was being greedy, and the closing date got pushed back to September 20th. So now I'm 30. I'm 8 days 30 years old. But
Uh,
and that was a quick sidebar. But yeah, for me, um, and it's funny looking at this wall behind me of all these sneakers. This was one thing that I had to, I guess, cut back on when I was looking and I was in the market around like 2017, 18. Just really buckling down and saying, okay, I want to buy a house. It's a lot of money. It's not $10. You know what I mean? I have to say no to myself, whether it's clothes, sneakers, traveling, like really just get disciplined. And one of the things that helped me, fortunately enough, I also do graphic design. And that year in particular, I want to say in 2016, 17, I had made a significant amount of money doing that. That was around the time Snapchat, custom filters, like really took off. I was one of the few people who was doing it. And with my skill set, I was getting a lot of business. Like I would have to post online, like I'm booked, I can't take any more. I had a few celebrity clients. Like it got really, so I was literally living off of that money. And I'm working in the DOE, so I'm not touching that check at all, just saving that. Um, and yeah, like I think just with me essentially having that extra source of income, being able to completely stash away my main source, live off of the extra, also being disciplined, telling myself no, that literally is like I always make this joke because my graphic design company is called Geotheory. So I always say Geotheory's bought this house.
mm.
That's literally how I was able to make it happen.
So you mentioned
I
earlier
need
you
you
used
to
to work.
elaborate on that. I
Uh,
don't want you to like just go by. I think that's very, very important considering the market that you purchased in. I definitely want to go back to this. First and foremost, shout out to your dad. I think he's a GOAT. Seriously. Like seriously, he made major moves. Haven't gotten to meet him yet. I know how important he has been in your journey, and I always love hearing about men being at the center of their family and doing for others, not just their immediate family but their extended family as well. So salute to him. Shout out to him for real. Now with you, I think it's very important to elaborate on this.
I guess we'll continue, but I don't want him to come in. This is weird. Okay, so I guess one of the things that you had said that you worked for the DOE. What exactly is that?
Oh, New York City Department of Education. So I'm a high school social worker. Yeah,
Okay.
right.
So,
I've been in DOE since 2016.
well, that's cool. So you still do that now?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's exciting. So how is it working with kids? Like, do you teach them
It's
military?
interesting. It's entertaining. I work in a high school, so you know it's always something. They definitely keep you on your toes. They keep you young. I wouldn't want to work in like a middle school or like a elementary, so I really enjoy high school. But it has its challenges, of course, especially as a social worker. We see and hear so many different stories with these kids. I definitely don't think it's for the faint of heart. Like I don't think everybody could do that. Like
Yeah.
it can be a lot.
So do
So,
you, no, sorry. Go. We got, so
right.
we didn't hear what you said when you
We were
disappeared.
saying
You said
elaborate
something about
on and then
elaborate,
cut off.
and then it cut off.
So please elaborate on what you said you spoke on what you did, right? So a social worker in the education field. Talk about the journey and how other people might have been kind of put off from investing in one of the most expensive markets in the world. Like how do you work in the school and education? And then how were you able to, thank you, close on property in one of the most expensive markets in the world? And how important was that supplemental income? What gave you the driving force to actually do that? Could you have done it without the supplemental income? Because you said that geotherapy is what purchased the home. I think that's
Mhm.
phenomenal. But can you both speak to the role that your career, primary income played and secondary income?
Yeah. So hopefully I'm gonna try to remember everything you asked. But one thing I will say is that as far as like the drive, right? So there was a woman who also lived on this block, grew up with my family, my sisters and her. They all went to the same school. She initially had her house up for sale, which is literally across the street from mine. Um, and initially, she had came to my parents like, yeah, I'm selling. You guys got first dibs, A, B, C, X, Y, Z. I was excited because again, I'm at this point now where I'm like, I want to, get my own. I'm 20, maybe 7, 28 around this time or something like that. Long story short, she accepted an offer that was higher than mine, but the offer was only $5,000 higher. Now, as you all know, and I'm sure many people know, $5,000 in real estate is like a quarter at the store. Like, what is that? Um, and I took that hard because I really was excited and I was really ready, got pre-approved, did all the things. Now, my faith is kind of what brought me back because I said to myself, I was like, you know what, it wasn't for me. What's for me won't pass me. God know what He's doing. I just gotta trust Him. So when this opportunity came, which essentially, this house was never put on the market. It was like a private sale. I had no realtor, and we just had attorneys, and that was it, pretty much. Um, Mortgage loan officer, stuff like that. And I think that also kind of helped in terms of like, allowing things to work out. And part of the reason, what I mentioned briefly about the seller's attorney, she was greedy. She wanted to be their seller's attorney. She wanted to be their realtor. She was telling them you could sell it for way more, put it on the market, because she wanted multiple checks. But thankfully, and may his soul rest in peace, the person who sold me the home, he was a man of his word and said, no, like I already told him this is what we're gonna do, and we just kind of made everything happen. So essentially, what happened prior to me buying this home, that was kind of the drive and the motivating factor. And considering what's going on in the market, kind of what you briefly touched on, Gab, looking at the cost of homes similar to this style, looking at because my parents also own a three family like across the street. So these like a lot of these homes in this area are pretty much built, but they were built by the same contractor back in like 1970. So they're all like similar styles. So just kind of knowing the value of it and then what it was being sold for, I said like I can't. And also just hearing my father in my ear because he's right there. He's like you can't we can't not make this happen. This needs to happen. So Gav, you know about find a way, make a way. So it's just like we gonna make this happen. And at least a year before things were finalized in 2019, he gave my father the heads up when my grandson graduates from high school, that's what we're gonna sell, which kind of also let me tap into a different space of like, all right, this is when you really gotta lock in. You gotta make sure your credit score is on point. Make sure you got a good amount of money. You know what I'm saying? So these are all things I'm kind of like prepping for. So when it's to the point now with the bank and they're like, okay, we need the last 3 6 months of this, boom 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 boom, sent oh, we need this, send. And I even remember my loan officer, she was telling me, um, because she was saying that they were saying they wish that all of their clients were like me, because the minute they would text me or call me, yo, we need this, it was sent immediately, because I didn't want any delays. I didn't want, oh, this didn't happen because, nope, you need this, got it. Oh, you want this, sent. I was just very, very on top of it. Um, so yeah, and then with geotheories, like I mentioned before, I had made like about $60,000 just straight cash, um, just doing graphic design work, and also with me being disciplined, I wasn't trying to do a lot, so I was that was getting me by. I'm still living at home with my parents, whatever little contributions to the house I was doing, phone bill, haircuts, little stuff like that. It was enough for me to stay afloat. So it's like with me doing that, and then completely saving my DOE check as well as some of this other extra money I'm getting, that really like set me up nicely to say, okay, how much is this gonna cost? How much is the down payment? How much is closing? And then of course, mom and dad, thank God, bless me. Oh, this is, gift or towards the house. Thank you, appreciate it. So, that all kind of helped to, make everything possible.
So it sounds like a few things came into play. Not only did you increase your hustle and add an additional stream of income, but you were smart enough to stay home and, you know, continue to, as you grew as a young adult, contribute to your family at the same time as saving for your future. And they probably wanted you to do the same.
Right.
You're not an attorney, you're not CPA at the top firm or a medical doctor, but you still was able to close on and in one of the most expensive markets in the world. So that's just a few gems. Like save your money, sacrifice. You could get fly after the fact, after you close on a couple of
Exactly.
properties or one.
Exactly.
It's
Yep.
it's always going to be there. Fashion is going to be there, but take care of priorities first.
Yeah.
So family oriented, support a fam, additional streams of income, and just sacrificing.
Yeah.
Um, would you have done anything differently while closing on your first deal?
The only thing I would have done differently is maybe, I mean, at this point, I was really stretching myself thin because I also bake and I was baking around this time too. But I think I would have probably tried to save even more money because
Hmm.
when I purchased this, like, I'm the second owner. This home was built in 1970. The first owner, they've been here since, and then they sold it to me, and that's it. So it was a lot. Like this is my office. This whole space had like panels. It was disgusting. Like if I didn't have vision, I probably wouldn't have purchased this house because it was carpets everywhere, wallpaper, panels, all the things. So essentially, having to like renovate and do all of that, that's where in the sense of what would I've done differently, had a bit more money saved to have more money for that, as opposed to having to rely on like a Home Depot credit card or whatever. But that's one thing that I would say, especially if you're buying like a fixer upper, you definitely want to have some liquid cash that you can use or put into some renovation,
Okay.
or at least as an option, because there definitely are some like deals and benefits of say using credit, but
So one should have vision, right? So even
right.
you shouldn't be turned off by the house because you can turn it into your version of your dream, whatever you want it to look like. A lot of people get turned off by the ugliest house on the most expensive block because it doesn't look like the other houses, not realizing that you're going to be able to purchase it for a discounted price and you'll be able to build the equity. Not only that, it's an opportunity to truly make it your own and not accept or live with the design of others. So
Yeah.
phenomenal. I think listeners are going to be able to learn a lot from your experience in this interview
And
with
I,
just a few questions.
I think also when you are like renovating your own space and like a lot of what's done in here, like you did it, it's just a different appreciation and love for like your house. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not, you can say move into wherever whoever did, but knowing that you were in here getting dirty, getting a few splinters, sweating, even annoyed at sometimes like, yo, when is this gonna be over? When it's all done, it's like, yeah, I did that. Like I literally did that. So
Sweat equity.
yeah. It's a good
So
feeling.
speaking of equity, what's going to be your approach? Do you have intentions on purchasing additional investment properties? What's going to be your approach, and what role will your first purchase play on the future of your investments?
Yeah, I definitely do want to purchase more. Speaking of equity, this house has a lot of equity in it from when I purchased. Um, so I need to kind of like look into that and do some more research and the best ways to say utilize that. Because that's something that I've heard of, and just people kind of using equity in their homes to say purchase more homes and things like that. But I still have to say do some more research on that. But that is something that I thought about as well. In terms of the role that this house will play, I mean, depending on what I buy next, like if I say do like a single family for like, wife, family, kids, or like a two family or something, I would rent out. So right now I have a three bedroom upstairs and then a one bedroom downstairs, and this one I'm living in is a three bedroom as well. So I just, rent out this as well. Mortgage will be covered, so I wouldn't necessarily have to worry about this house. So yeah, just like I said, just doing a bit more research on like that
You
whole.
say that one more time. You rent that out. What? You said that really fast. I
I
need you to
was
say
saying
that for the slower
with the
folk in the back.
with the three units all being rented, it would definitely cover the mortgage. I might even have a profit, honestly, now that I'm thinking about it. After, but yeah, so just doing that, I definitely will have a profit. Yeah, so that could also help out in some capacity with another home. It's just like I said, just to do some research on like equity and like the best practices and using it and stuff like that.
So, what up? Do you have specific RE goals when it comes to future investing and planning? What do you want your approach to be? What are your thoughts?
I definitely want to have multiple properties, whether it's at least like two more, before I say get married, have kids, and all of that, and then the missus and I. That's also something I would like to continue, at that point, because if I have a property now. I say get another one. Maybe she has one. We're somewhat versed in this, and it's kind of like if we're able to do it, I feel more than once, two, three times, then why not, keep doing it? And the more people that I know, like people like you guys, and just like speaking and having these conversations, doing research, I feel like is very attainable. Which is another conversation I have with people a lot in general who say don't own, and it's not necessarily something that's super easy. It's a walk in the park, but it's very doable. I think a lot of times people make more excuses than what actually is. Whether it's like, okay, maybe you just have to sacrifice for a little bit. Maybe you have to tell yourself no, which is very hard. I admit, telling yourself no is very hard. But you just kind of sacrifice for a little bit and just grind, and then you realize later on it's like, oh well, this actually wasn't that bad. I think a lot of this sometimes there's so much information out there online, people can easily get overwhelmed. But when you really just kind of sit down and try to be specific or focus on like smaller goals, you can eventually achieve that greater goal. And before you know it, you're a homeowner.
Right. Random, but has to be asked, right? Because your dad, I'm sure, dealt with some stuff when he was investing. A little easier for us, but we know there's a such thing called redlining, right? And
Hmm.
we're probably not going to realize what's happening to us until somebody exposes it. So we're doing the best we can do. But during your real estate journey, have you experienced any biases or racism?
I wouldn't say so. Even when I was looking into the house across the street, that was a pretty easy process. I remember going and I got pre-approved, and even when, yeah, the only I guess issue was her. And then in this particular go around with this home, I think that there's the seller's attorney. She was just being greedy. She just wanted more money, so she was trying to kind of make certain things. And black woman at that, which was it kind of hit me a bit harder. I'm like, you see a young black man out here trying to do things, and you out of all people, you want to make this a bit more difficult. But yeah, I wouldn't say that I don't feel like banks moved a certain kind of way towards me or anyone else or experienced any racism or anything like that. So no, I wouldn't say I've experienced
So one
any.
of the questions include what does generational wealth mean to you and what role has it played in your life? I think you alluded to that already, but what role will it play in your future?
Well, just continuing to make smart decisions and not think only about me myself. I say all the time, all the things I'm doing now is for my future wife and kids. Even me going to the gym 6 days a week. Yeah, the everything that comes with that, the physique, whatever, that's cool. But I want to grow old with the family. I want to be able to run around and play with my kids. Like that's why I do it. It's not because of anything else. So I think even just thinking about generational wealth and any decisions that I'm making moving forward, I'm trying not to think about, oh, if I buy these cribs and I flip this and I do this and I do that, I could get this car, or I could go on this trip. Like I'm not thinking that way. Unless my wife and my kids are right there with me, then yeah, let's all do this as a family. But yeah, and then even just kind of seeing some of the things that my father is still doing. Like right now, he's in Jamaica. Built so my grandfather left him land when he passed, and my father built on it. And he essentially broke it up into different subdivisions. So now he's like advertising. So I mean, if you guys are interested, want to buy and want to
It?
build,
Yes.
So yeah, he's got some subdivisions out there, and he's selling each lot. So if you want to come and put a house there,
So your
so
granddad, this is what we're talking about. I'm happy I asked that question. So for those of you who are following, granddad purchased a plot of land in his lifetime. Great accomplishment. Son is developing the land in his lifetime. Great accomplishment. Man, I think you need to kind of
yeah,
buy them up
and
and just rent
let me
them
tell you
out.
something. I went to Jamaica in February, like for some of the business dealings with that, and one of the things like I asked him, I said, so what are you gonna do? Just kind of for like I said, what are you gonna do when you like sell all these plots and everybody building their homes and all that? And he was like, oh, just leave the money for my grandson and my kids, and then just take whatever's left for myself. And the way he said it, it was just so casual, but it really hit me here, and I'm like, man, that is so fire. And I was saying to myself, like, I need to be able to do this and more for my kids and my kids, because literally, like the way he said it, was just like, yeah, just leave the money for my grandkids and you guys, and then whatever money's left, I'll just take it and go eat it or whatever, and we all laugh.
Uh,
And I just thought that was so dope. So. Yeah.
that's phenomenal to hear. So, last question. I know we had you for a while, and thank you for your time. What advice would you give your 15-year-old self, your 25-year-old self? We already spoke about 30. You're already where you are now. But what do you want to remind yourself at 40? So your younger self for the advice for the youth, and
Hmm.
then advice for anybody who might be touching 40, who didn't accomplish it yet, or even somebody who has real estate. And then
Yeah.
what are your goals? How are you going to get there?
I would say at 15, I would definitely say that, have a childhood is important. However, all the fun things won't matter later. You know what I mean? The sooner you can learn about investing or stocks or real estate, whatever, do it. You know what I'm saying? You could be ahead of the curve, and we already see what that can do for somebody in real estate if you're ahead. Um, you know, you said 25?
25.
25, I would say start like saving now, put down the sneakers, the trips, the this, the that, because I've been doing all of that since like 21, 22. You know what I'm saying? So it's like a good 4 or 5 years of that type of life. Buying new outfits for every event, like all that stuff. I mean, it's cool, but it doesn't. Who cares at this point, right? Like I'm about to be 35 in September. Who cares? So really, just kind of start making those smarter decisions financially sooner.
Mhm.
Um, and 40, I guess what I would remember.
Hindsight is easy. But what about foresight? What do you want to tell your future self so that when you look at this interview in 5 years, you're like, yeah, I accomplished that. Or as a matter of fact,
Yeah,
maybe I set the goal, the ceiling too low. Maybe for 50, I need to think bigger.
yeah. I think I would say, for my 40-year-old self looking back on this interview, um, is to stay the course. You know what I mean? Always stay the course, and it's never too late. I think sometimes we have these goals or we have different thoughts or ideas, and whether it's like an excuse that we make, or I can't do this because of this, or I can't, or this didn't happen for me at this age and it happened at like whatever that your journey is, like that's your journey. You know what I mean? As long as you stay the course, like you lose when you stop, just keep going.
I
Keep
love that. You lose when you
putting
stop. I said something recently. It's not a loss unless you quit, right? Because
exactly.
I failed 4 inspections with Section 8, but I really want a Section 8 tenant.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
I
similar
quit.
with
Then that's when I lost.
Yeah, similar with this, the woman across the street, when she accepted all the offer, like it really hit me. And I remember, I think even my mom was like, if people was like, yo, don't sweat it. This, if when it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. And I could have just said, F it, took a trip, spent a whole bunch of money I had saved up. But I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just keep, saving this money, keep getting myself ready, keep, being prepared. And it's like the whole idea of stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
So 40-year-old goal.
You're
What's the
muted, Holly.
goal?
Holly, you're
You
muted.
mentioned a few houses, but put a number on it. 40-year-old goal. Put a number on your 40-year-old goal. Or put
40
something on
year
it. Make it concrete. What is it going to be?
40, I want to own at least three homes by 40.
That's what
That's
I'm
nice. That's
saying.
doable. That's doable. I was gonna say, do you feel
That's
like you're
essentially two homes in the next 5 years.
that's true. You could
That's
do it.
light.
You could do it.
Like,
So would you say your relationship with the person who lived on that street helped you with securing that home before it went on the market?
I would say my father's relationship with him because I didn't really know him. I mean, I knew him as this guy, and his him and his wife. They was on the block, and I think his granddaughter also went to school with my sisters. Because all my life, for the most part, almost everybody on this block has been on this block. We've had a few new people here and there, but for the most part, we've all like been here. So him and my dad having done some work for him before, he kind of told him, and he said, don't say anything to anybody, like keep this low, blah blah blah. So that relationship, 100% definitely helped for me to secure this.
That's awesome. So
Yeah.
it's definitely important to, I guess, leverage the relationships around you for sure.
Sure. Yeah, relationships are super important. I say that all the time. I think sometimes relationships are more valuable than cash. So,
it is. I agree. Agree. All right. Any closing thoughts?
this is dope, man. Thank you guys for having me. I definitely think that more of these conversations need to be had, especially for people who are a bit younger who aren't too versed in just kind of hearing real accounts as opposed to just like some doctored up Instagram post. And yeah, it's doable, especially for us, colored folk. I think a lot of times people try to shy away from that and make it seem like it's super impossible, and it's like, yeah, it's possible. Just stop making excuses and make it happen.
Oh,
I
by the
love
way, that's a really fly shirt you have on. I just wanted to shout out Tier. I noticed that you
Appreciate
have
it.
on a Tier shirt. Those must be some phenomenal designers.
Yeah, shout out to the bros, man.
Yeah.
So I guess do you want to shout out your business? Like where could people go to like get graphic
Oh,
design stuff?
yeah. So anybody can hit me directly at Geotheories, or Tristan, TristaneAUX on Instagram. If you want sweet potato pies, Tris Pies is TRISPIES, or trispiesinc.com. You can head over to the website, just place your order. But yeah, that's pretty much how you get in contact with me.
Well,
All
thank
right.
you
Thanks.
so much for your time today. We appreciate it so much. And we hope that everyone that watches this can find value. Remember that it's never too late. You could always accomplish your dream and keep pushing.
Thank y'all for having me.
You're welcome.